Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on video. It means a lot that you guys keep looking. If you guys keep looking, I'll keep making it. Today, we're back with more Shan. I know Shan is such a hot topic now with all of her controversial statements on Twitter. We've already done a video on her, so I feel like we're more familiar with that. Now, if you haven't seen the video, it's in the top right corner right now. You might want to go check that one out first, because that's kind of like the prequel to this video, which is much more in depth, and I'm going to use a lot of examples as to why Shan is legitimately losing her mind. Seriously. We're going to go through several tweets. In fact, I think it's 5, 6, or maybe even 7 tweets, as well as fan response tweets as well. I just want to go like deep into what in the world is wrong with Shan. I mean, she's saying some like horrible things on Twitter. Maybe you disagree, maybe you don't. Again, positive discourse in the comments. We support it. No, telling people to kill themselves. Let's not do that. That's not productive. But again, all opinions are welcome in the comments. We don't delete comments here. So whatever opinion you guys have, that's okay. Let it out in the comments. But before that, 72% of you guys who are watching these videos are not subscribed. Let's change that. It's easy and it's free. Thank you, Skylander, for making my thumbnails. And if that's it, let's get right into this video. Let's talk about Shan. Oh, one more thing. Post-game show tomorrow, live, right after the episode airs. Catch me and Skylander talking Survivor. Maybe a special guest. You never know who's gonna pop in. But yeah, so it should be 9:05ish, around there, maybe like 9:03. Right after the episode airs, we will always be live. So check that out as well. So Shan has been saying some very questionable things on Twitter. Obviously, we did a video last week where we talked about this tweet on the screen right now, in which basically Shan replies to Jessica from Millennials vs. Gen X's tweet, where she basically says, and she being Jessica, says, it's the faces of tribal council, like this and that, and it shows Xander, and it shows Evie, and it shows Tiffany, and it shows Sydney, and it shows basically all the underdogs from that tribal. And Shan replies with, it's so stupid, only white faces? Like, who thinks like that? Who thinks like that? Tell me anyone who genuinely, like, things go through their head like that. Like, only white faces or no black faces? That's not the way to think of things. Obviously, that's how Shan thinks of things. And I thought that was it. And so I started seeing more tweets pop up. I've started watching more just overall, or just seeing more tweets that are crazy from her pop up on Reddit and things like that. I'm not a very active Twitter user, so I haven't really seen these crazy tweets pop up until now. And so I decided to go really through her entire Twitter and really just show you what kind of a person Shan is right now. And I think the tweets will kind of speak for themselves. Obviously, I'll give some commentary, just kind of ad-lib it, but I honestly think that these tweets will kind of speak for themselves, and what I say is just kind of secondary, but the tweets themselves are already nuts on top of that. And so after Shan had replied to this tweet from Jessica saying only white faces, she then got a lot of backlash. And to counteract that backlash, she essentially made her own tweet saying melanin on melanin on melanin on melanin on melanin. There we go. That's the entire tweet. It's very, very informative. Obviously, I took so much away from that. My life has changed forever. No, in all seriousness, this tweet was basically a version of the last tweet, except it was only black people. It was only people who are, I quote unquote, black. I mean, obviously, it's kind of a term that can be kind of switched around, because like, what really is that? But again, the 4 people from the Camp Out Alliance is really what we're talking about here, in Shan, Liana, Danny, and Deshawn. And she basically posts a picture saying on Twitter, and the caption is melanin on melanin, and I think she says that like 5 times. And essentially what she's trying to say is like, well, if you're gonna make one with only white faces, and I'm gonna make one with only black faces, which is the silliest thing ever. One, even if in some far off universe that Jessica was meaning it in a racist way, the worst thing to counteract racism with is to be more racist the other way. That's not how you do it. But we don't live in that dimension. And what Jessica said was just simply a post about the people who were at the bottom of tribal and who had succeeded, specifically Xander, Evie, and Tiffany, like this Yase 3. It wasn't meant to be only white people, but Shan's was meant to be only black people, and it really shows Shan's hypocrisy and how Shan looks at these situations coming in trying to see race. That's not how you want to see situations, in my personal opinion, and I think that's a huge character flaw with how Shan deals with these issues. Is that she only sees the race of the people in the picture, and she's always trying to be a victim instead of just like maybe she just posted people who are in the game and they just happen to be white. In fact, most of the people in this post merge are people of color. So it's like, what are you talking about, Shan? And obviously, anyone who has any common sense is calling her out on these tweets. For an example, we have Techo Takes, I think is their name. They said, "Didn't you post black faces? What's the difference?" I 100% agree with this. You're getting mad at someone for posting pictures of only one race, and then you're doing the exact same thing but with your race. That doesn't make it any better. It just makes it a different color, which I think is just even more flawed, because you now made it about race and then you displayed that same type of bias just in your own way, which I think is just as bad, if not worse, because her intentions were much more malo. I'm going to speak Spanish here, malo, than Jessica. I feel like her intentions coming in were to purposely see race here, whereas in Jessica was doing it just based off of the players that the tribal was focused on, which was the Yase 3 and Sydney kind of being blindsided there. One comment that I've seen personally reads from Bella's sister, reads, so it's not really about the diversity then, it's all about the melanin. Wouldn't quote unquote diversity be the opposite of segregation based on race? Great point, which is that she's preaching for all of this diversity, but then it's all about what race you are if you fit into her categories of what constitutes the powerful race in this game, being the quote unquote camp out alliance. She's saying that she wants diversity this, diversity that, but then she only aligns with people from her race purely based on the fact that they are from her race. Obviously, she probably trusts them as well, but she trusts them mainly because they're from the same race. So she's preaching all of this stuff about diversity and staying, difference in opinion, and yet she's, the difference in experience, and yet she's with people who are the most similar to her in the entire game. She's sticking with those people. It's very hypocritical by her personally, and I do feel like overall that if she does continue this hypocritical thinking, it could hurt her actually in the game, because if she's at Final Tribal and she's speaking all this nonsense and trying to preach to everybody, that's not going to go over well with the jury, unless the jury's also on this little bandwagon here. So we'll just have to see if this stuff affects her in the game or in real life at all. It seems to be like the more popular opinion in the Survivor community, as most like Survivor media, like RHAP and Survivor Twitter, seems to be on her side with this, which is really sad. But I think overall that it's pretty common sense that this is just ridiculous, and that this person has a great idea as to why this is absolutely ridiculous. And so another little comment on her post here reads, "Damn, only black faces." Thinking emoji. Thought this was a POC alliance. Where's Nasir and Erica? Damn, no LGBTQ. Perfect example. It's like you can't open one door and then not expect all the other doors to open. If you want it to be a POC alliance, then where's the rest of the groups of people? You're only allowing in your specific group within a group, and this is where having these alliances based off race, you're opening up a box of worms. And now that the box of worms is open, when I say things like this, you can't be like, well, okay, but that's like being too petty with it, because the entire point is that you are being petty. You are being semantic. So as soon as you open up this Pandora's box, you allow semantics to come into play. And I feel like this is really hurting her argument here as to why she feels like a cookout alliance is justified, and then she doesn't let people who are part of groups of color to just join the alliance, like for example Nasir, Erica, or even Ricard, honestly. And then for her speaking so much about LGBTQ rights and all this, and in her bio she says safe space with the flag. Is there anyone here? It's like, you can say to that, well, okay, but like that's like playing semantics. This entire thing is like playing semantics, and that's what makes this so wrong and just incorrect of an argument. Is like, you cannot like to tell me that, hey, what you're saying is playing semantics, but then go place semantics on me when it comes to, you know, forming an all black alliance. I feel like when you open that can of worms, you're opening yourself up to be kind of picked apart here, you know, as far as people using like, oh well, technically here and technically there, and you really can't complain because you're also doing it yourself. And really, in response to all of this criticism and you know, comments coming at her, really pointing out her holes in her argument, she then responds with this. She says, when people say that they're done while watching Survivor because the show's now quote unquote woke. And then it's her and Ricard like waving goodbye to Jeannie, but she's saying like, if you don't agree with me, goodbye. Like, I don't care if you're here watching the show that we all love. And I feel like that's pretty silly of an argument. One, you're losing viewers on your own season, so why in the world would you want to do that to yourself? And two, why in the world would you say, if you disagree with me, just kind of like go away? Like, that's not a very nice thing to do, one, and it's definitely not the right thing to do at all. It seems to me like she just can't defend her own argument, and so she needs to shoo away anybody who disagrees with her, because if they just actually sit down and talk with her, they'll realize how silly her arguments are and realize that they're so easy to beat. I generally think that if you are confident in your argument, you should be okay, you know, rationalizing your opinion at any time, any, you know, in any circumstance, because I feel like with her, she only likes rationalizing it in certain situations, and I think she's overall just tired of people questioning her because she doesn't like having to explain herself, when that's something that you have to do. That's part of arguing, is explaining why you feel the way that you do. And so to see her get mad at people for just simply disagreeing with her, it just shows a lack of maturity, and that's coming from someone, me, who's 16 years old. Like, that's just not mature. To say, if you are done with Survivor because the show's woke, then goodbye. We won't miss you. Like, that's not the way to treat your fellow fans, especially when you're the person who's on the show, who's getting all this following from the show. It's just very, very silly to me, and I think overall very, very petty of her to do, and just childish, really. Then I dug even deeper, and this is where it gets really bad. So here's a tweet from Shan. Basically, someone had said, you know, it actually doesn't take much to be considered a difficult woman. That's why there's quote unquote so many of us. From Jane Goodall, and she retweets this with applause. And this is just the start here. Basically, this is when I went back really deep into her tweets from earlier in the season, because again, as I said earlier, I don't use Twitter, so it's not like something where I'm like, as soon as I see something, I'm immediately know about it. I usually see it like on Reddit or like a few weeks after. And so she had retweeted this. This is silly. It's basically saying that women are expected to do too much, or that if women speak up for themselves, that they're looked at as difficult people, which is not the case, one. And being just an a-hole, it really doesn't matter if you're a dude or a girl. You're just going to be called the according bad name. Whether somebody calls you a name that they call women or a name that they call men, they're going to call you, you know, a dick or a bitch. Like, there's different things. There's levels to this, and so the idea that she has this need to victimize herself, it really does show a lack of ability to rationalize her opinion. And it seems like she just needs to be the victim, or else she doesn't really have an argument there. It's just more of like her feeling sorry for herself, rather than like actually like maybe like telling us why you feel a certain way, instead of just saying, oh well, you guys are threatened because I'm a woman and I'm just having an opinion, and so that makes me a quote unquote difficult woman. Wow, like how weak of you guys. And it only gets worse here with the whole woman power, men hating stuff. It only gets more weird and just overall like cringe. Like, this is cringe. Like, Jeff is cringe on Survivor. Shantel is cringe in real life. Seriously. So in this tweet. It only gets worse. It only gets worse, guys. Okay, so in this tweet, she says, boyfriend, can you help me lift this? I'm guessing he's probably speaking to, like, you know, his girlfriend. You know, this is obviously a story or something, but I guess she's assuming the role of the girlfriend. So he says, or she says, boyfriend, can you help lift me this? Me, sure. Boyfriend, I'm still a man though, right? Me, So delusional, overconfident, insensitive? Question mark. Wow, you really roasted men there. Oh my god, like it's not funny. Like if I had a cricket like sound effect right now, this is what I put for that joke. That was a burn, a crash and burn. That was oh. It, this is the type of stuff where like imagine a guy post this where it's like a guy says, girlfriend, um, can you help me with my makeup? Me, sure. Girlfriend, I'm still a pretty woman though, right? And I'm like, yeah, like you look like a clown. Haha. Like that's not funny, and it's also like really fucked up. Like Shan is getting to the point now where her jokes are no longer funny, her comments are no longer agreeable, and they're becoming to the point where it's like borderline effect, like literally, the idea that she would post this and think it's like oh my god, haha, roasting men, like screw those guys, like doesn't she have a partner? Like maybe it's a girl, but I'm pretty sure it's a dude. Like I'm just confused as to what Shan thinks she's getting out of this. Like, does Shan what dude hurt Shan, bro? What dude hurt Shan? Because Shan must have some serious problems if she thinks that this is going to solve anything or do anything except for make her look like a just an overall like hateful person. And I know there's gonna be people who are like, oh, like stop being a snowflake, you know, to take the joke. To you, I say I've been saying that for the past 5 years to all this type of stuff that people like Shan say, and every time I get, well, you're being insensitive, so I'm gonna throw it right back at you guys. You're being insensitive. I mean, Shan is saying these things, calling men delusional, overconfident, insensitive. This is almost as bad as Evie just straight up saying she hates men, or not hate men, but that her pet peeves are literally men. Pop the screenshot on the screen right now of her literally saying that she hates men, her being Evie. And now we have Shan cut back to this tweet saying that men are delusional, overconfident, and sensitive. Could you imagine if Nasir and Danny decided to tag team this one, and Nasir's like, oh, pet peeves, women. And then Danny's like, yeah, women are so delusional, overconfident, and sensitive. Could you imagine? Shan's Twitter page would be so lit up. It would actually be fun. It would legitimately be hilarious. And so to see Shan have this much hypocrisy in her tweets, it really does show that she doesn't really care about her cause. She just cares about when it affects her and her people being women and people of color. Oh, and it just keeps getting worse because this next tweet we have is Shan saying, quote unquote, nothing beats white and beautiful, with a crying emoji. What? I'm guessing I'm going to assume that this is Shan saying that like the beauty standard is that only like white women, you know, can be attractive, and that this is very unfair to women of color, which one is untrue. There's attractive women of all races, one, and two, what, like what is this supposed to be like about? Like what do you expect me, somebody who's reading this, to say it in the comment section? Yeah, man, I really hate like white beautiful people. Like, what? That makes no sense. It makes zero sense, and I really don't understand what she means by nothing beats white and beautiful, crying emoji. That seems to me like you're being a baby. I'm not gonna lie, like that's pretty babyish behavior. I don't know if she thinks she's like cute by doing it. Like I don't know, she thinks she's like a quirky person. Is this like the new popular thing to do? Is just to feel bad for yourself and blame it on racial standards, which makes no sense. Maybe it is. Maybe I missed that trend. I mean, I'm 16 after all. I should know about these trends. I'm the young hip kids, but I've never heard of this trend, and it's definitely not a trend at my school because, like, what even is this? And again, this just further proves that she is in a victim mindset. She wants to be a victim, as much as she's constantly pleading, you know, that, oh my god, it sucks being the victim. You want to be the victim. There's no way that someone tweets out nothing beats white and beautiful, basically inferring that like white, I'm guessing specifically women, I'm guessing take away men from women of color, And so I'm such a victim. Nothing says victim like that. Nothing says victim like literally making like attraction between two human beings a racial thing. Like nothing beats I'm a victim. Like I don't get boys because I'm not white. Like are you kidding me? That is the most like selfish one selfish thing, because now you're saying this person is not choosing me because things aren't fair. That's already silly on its own. People choose because people choose. People don't choose based off like purely based off race. That's usually never the case. And so for her to infer that men need to pick more women of color, I'm guessing, or maybe it's the opposite. I don't know. But again, it's just so confusing. I don't really get the point here. Like, what is she trying to get across here, aside from absolute garbage, which is exactly what this tweet is absolute garbage, and just trying to be the victim in a spot in which she's just not the victim here. There's no victim here. Like, yes, two people can like each other without there being a victim and angry tweet and a cancellation on Twitter. I mean, some of the stuff is just so blatant, like in this tweet where she basically says, "I'm just gonna say it. It's woke Wednesday, y'all." Like, what is woke Wednesday? Like, I don't even like what even it like. I don't know anyone who participates in that. If you do, maybe some grass would be something that would be worth touching. But that's another conversation for another day. I'm just confused as to like what does she want me to look at her Twitter page and think of her, except that she's a whiny, emotional person who is just simply wants to be the victim, and that she just thrives in this victim role because it puts her in a spot in which she has more power over others. She makes people feel bad for her, but then wants to act like a queen and a badass. It's like you can't pick you can't have the cake and eat it too. You can't be a victim but then also be a queen and a badass. You kind of have to pick one here, and it's obvious that she's neither. She's just neither. I mean, period. End of story. She's not a victim, and she's not some sort of queen. She's just someone who's whiny and who's childish, and who I think I'm generally more mature than Shan is, at least on Twitter for sure. I think maybe in real life she probably is. I would hope she is. She has 14 years on me and much more experience in actual real life situations. But the fact that I feel like my social media use is more responsible than hers, I think that shows you how nuts she's going on Twitter here. This is why I will never consistently use Twitter. I like Reddit because I can talk to people on Reddit. I like Instagram because I'm in high school. That's kind of how you like meet people and like see what people are kind of up to. And then Snapchat is just like what texting is for high schoolers. So those are the three that I kind of hover around. But I'm not on Twitter for this exact reason. I will avoid woke Wednesday at all costs, and I have no issue. I have no FOMO of I have no fear of missing out on woke Wednesday here, and I do not think that I'll be having any sleepless nights over missing out on Shan's woke Wednesday here. Woke Island, hashtag woke Island, hashtag. I don't even know. I really don't even know. I don't know anyone who does this. I think it's honestly pathetic and sad at this point. I understand if you disagree, you can go curse me out in the comments because that's what adults do for sure. But yeah, this isn't it. This isn't it. And I just want to finish this off by saying, what if the roles were reversed? So I want to go to each and every single tweet and talk about if the roles were reversed and how people would react. This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun. But first, but before we do that, let's take a quick break from being mad at the entire world and just be happy for a second. Here's Wendell's Halloween costume. Tell me that doesn't just put a smile on your face. I mean, that is just that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, back to terrible Shan opinions. So okay, this is her original tweet about only white faces. So imagine if they had said only black faces. Are you kidding? If let's say, for example, Russell Hantz tweets out, "Oh, only black faces in this Survivor trailer." Like, could you imagine Shan's Twitter page, how much it would light up? And then on top of that, to combat Shan's melanin on melanin tweet, imagine if somebody made one. I mean, what's the opposite of? I mean, I guess like paleness, fairness. Like, my skin is fair. Oh, like fair skin on fair skin on fair skin. Like, that would it would just be so stupid. I mean, let's all agree that melanin has a much better tone to it than fair skin. A lot of, I don't even know. I feel like that has a better tone, but I mean, I think they're both very stupid, and honestly, I mean, bordering on just overall just dumbassery. If that's even a word, I'm sure it is, or I'm sure it isn't. But I made it up there because that just Shan's tweets are so dumb that they're defying the English language at this point. Honestly, I think Shan is creating new words just to describe how dumb her tweets are. Then on top of that, her let's see, how about her waving tweet where she's waving to Ricard and she's waving to Jeannie and with Ricard, and she's saying, if you're woke, goodbye, like we don't care if you leave. Could you imagine if someone in season like around like the time of season 30 or 38 or season 40, when the diversity quota was like a big thing that a lot of black people from Survivor were pushing for? Could you imagine if Russell Hantz was like, if you want the diversity in Survivor, and then it was him just like waving, to somebody else? Like, could you imagine the backlash that Russell Hantz would have got if he had made that post up? So I just think it's such a double standard that it's okay for her to say these things in these scenarios, but just not for Russell to say these things, or anybody else who may be on the opposite side of Shantel. In fact, I feel like those are both not okay. So instead of being like, sure, like go ahead and say it on your side too, how about we just don't be assholes? I feel like that's a pretty easy solution here. And I can go on and on, but I feel like this all sums itself up. I just want to wrap this up by saying, obviously, whether you agree with Shan politically or not, I think that you can at least tell that these tweets show some immaturity and overall seem like she's at least reaching. I mean, I think most of us can agree that these are stupid, but even if you think they're super genius, you have to admit she's definitely reaching here a lot, and I really do I really think that it shows just how much she wants to be a victim. I think that's how we close this video out, is by saying, please don't wake up and just try and be a victim every day. That's not how you live your life. That's not how you succeed, is by waking up and trying to be a victim. You want to be a hero in your own story. You want to achieve things. You don't want to be someone who's on the news, as a victim. Obviously, figuratively, obviously, literally, you also don't want to be on the news. But figuratively, you don't want to be the victim who's on TV, who's like the underdog. Although being the underdog is great on like a reality TV show, in real life, you always want to achieve things and always strive for the best. Please don't be, please don't strive to be a victim, because that's exactly what Shan does. And yeah, that's how I'll close out this one. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Is this stuff as ridiculous as I think it is, or am I just completely overreacting and I'm an idiot and I'm just terrible? For those of you who are going to call me a privileged white male, I am black, so I mean, I apologize for you and your terrible talking points. I sincerely apologize. You can delete that long comment that you had typed. I know it sucks that you have to change it to I don't know. Come up with some new name, guys. New roast, guys. Come up with some more updated ones, guys. All right, well, thank you guys so much for the continued support on this channel. None of this happens without you guys. Without you guys, I'm just a weird guy talking into a microphone. Post-game show tomorrow. Tune in. 9-ish, probably after the episode airs, obviously Eastern time. And yeah, again, guys, thank you guys for the continued support. And if that's it, guys, I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.